Greetings to all and welcome to Season 2, Episode 10. 10! That's what, 22 episodes in total? Good lord. Of Losing Our Marbles, I Talk for Two. We are approaching the end of the Marbles season as we approach the end of Season 2 of the talk show. And so, we need to start rounding up the bigwigs. And do we have a bigwig for you today, ladies and gentlemen? I present the one and only Profanity. Hello and welcome in.
Hi.
How are
How's
you?
everybody doing? I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm probably still asleep in bed, having one of my hyper-realistic dreams. But I'm just gonna go along with it on the off chance this is reality.
Probably a good decision.
I think so. Always good to play it on the safe side. Well, thank you for being here. I know end of season, big time in the Marbles community, especially for certain individuals involved at the end of the season. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the invite. It's my pleasure to come hang out with you guys this afternoon. I guess we're into the afternoon now, so.
We are literally afternoon by 1 minute. So yes. I'm going to pretend that I'm not fixing the green screen chroma key behind you. So we'll just carry on in regular conversation.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
And let me know how you do it because I need to learn how to do that for my stream too.
Perfect. Nailed it. No problems here.
Until I move and it does it again. So I'll make sure I do that at some point. Keep you on your toes.
I think I have a high enough range now that you should be good. You may lose part of your face, but other than that,
that's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Where to begin? My goodness, I have. It's a smear. Some guests it's single focus, tunnel vision, and other guests it's just all over the place. And I feel like we're going all over the place on this one. So we're just gonna dartboard it here. Dartboarding it. Right, there we go. Perfect. Marbles team.
Marbles team.
Am I correct or incorrect in describing that as your brainchild?
No, that is actually Spoo's brainchild.
Spoo brainchild. All right.
Yeah, Spoo came up with the idea of Marble Team. He did it before I even joined the Marbles community. He was...
you joined back in May, correct? Or no? Yeah.
It's been about a year and like...
October. It was last
2 months
October?
or so?
No?
Dude, you guys, did you see how my eyes just went translucent and turned orange?
That
was really cool.
Yeah. Let's get more of that going on.
That was creepy. Yeah, so it's been about a year and a couple months. I think I came
October.
Over and yeah, it was like September or October. It was July. It was whenever I joined Twitch is when I got into Marbles.
Oh, fair enough.
Because I didn't even know about Twitch. I didn't know what Twitch was until somebody from VLDL was like, "Oh, we're gonna play Marbles," and I was like, well, "What is Marbles? That sounds so stupid." And I played it once, and I was like, "Marbles? More marbles, please? Mm-hmm. Marbles all the time, 24/7, nothing but marbles."
It does have that effect on people. I will say.
It was crazy. I was like, "This is the silliest thing I've ever done," and I'm just like, I'm all over it. Like I'm all in. So so that was about July, I think, is when I joined Twitch last July. So it's been a while, but I think Spoo used to do it out of his Discord. And I did it a few times when he started it back up in his Discord. And I was like, dude, I love this idea because I was already doing it just by myself when I wanted to meet new people, just popping around, meeting new people and hanging out with new people. And then he started doing it. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is so much better as a group because we can bring like a group of people into somebody who's streaming and has maybe like 2 viewers, knows nothing about the game. And we can go in there and teach them things. So we did it from his Discord for a little while. And then I was like, do you mind if I do one for my Discord too and like host my own night? And he was like, no, absolutely not. The more people that do this, the better. So I had done it a couple times. And then we were just kind of like, let's just move it over to Pixel's Discord and get more people involved in it. So that's what we did. And then Standard jumped in. He was like, hey, I want to do this too. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's get a channel going and, make it a weekly thing. So that's what we've been doing it. I canceled today's though. It's ironic. You start with Marble Team and I canceled the one for today. I was like, I was going to do it this morning and I didn't. I ran out of time and I was like, shoot. Sorry.
Happens to all of us. It's actually one of those things I wish I actually had time to participate in, because
It's yeah, and it's it does take time. Like it's tough to when you got so much other stuff going on to
hmm
sit there and focus. Like, because I don't like to go in and like call it Marble Team, go in and just hit exclamation mark play and not interact with the streamers at all.
right,
So if I can't interact with them, I won't do it at all, because that's
right,
not the point of it. It's not the point to just go in and drop a ball and not talk to them. The whole point of it
right.
is to get to know people and introduce them to the community. So
hmm
yeah, I get a little bit like, if I don't have the time to spend, then yeah, I'm
I
trying to
think
fix my
I think
green
that's a bit of
screen.
a
It's
mark of a
there we go.
successful streamer. At least when they start out, is they try to be everywhere. They're
hmm
just starting up their streams, so they don't have too rigid of a schedule. They don't have a lot going on, so they have a bit more time to spend in other people's streams and like getting to know people. And even if they start finding new people, they start telling them like, "Oh, did you know you can use T to slow down time, or you can use the mouse wheel to speed up or slow down the camera movement, stuff like that." And I
Right.
pretty much that's pretty much all I did for the first 6 months of playing marbles. Is I had my stream, and then I'd be like 20 minutes in another person's stream, probably 5 to 10 streams a day, just being everywhere. And I feel like that's a really good way to get your foot in the door. Because a lot of people, when they just start streaming, no one's going to find your stream. So you need to find
hmm
a way to kind of get people to come check you out. And I think being a helpful presence in the community kind of gets your name out there in a positive way.
Right. And that's what we try to tell people too. Like, the people that are going to benefit most from joining in these Marble Team adventures are the people that are new to the community and might not know as much about marbles. So if like you're
Right.
new and you don't know all these little tricks, it's really helpful to come, trail along with us, get into these other new channels with new people and listen to us explain things. And
Right.
then you get to know new streamers, you get to know people that are just wanting to meet new people, jumping around with Marble Team. And it's a community building event, is kind of how I refer to it. And it's really helpful to people who are new to the community. So we're trying to think of new ways to make it a little bit more fun for everybody, to get the interaction up a little bit,
Mm.
because it gets slow sometimes. I mean, there's days that I run it that I just kind of chill in there by myself for 2 hours, and that's fine. Like, I don't mind doing it by myself, but I want people to be able to join in and want to do it. So we're
Right.
trying to come up with some new things to do it. That's Spoo had streamed it a couple weeks ago, and I think Standard and I are going to do the same thing at some point. Who knows when, but
Yeah, I was thinking along those lines, like also maybe doing like highlight compilations. So like you
hmm
get good moments on those people's streams, and just kind of ask them for permission to use it in a highlight video. That'd be
right.
another thing
And
that
that's
kind of give you like a direction to aim for. So that's something I always
yeah.
find is this, as long as there's an end goal, it kind of helps fill in those down times by having an objective to seek. So
Yeah. And we've talked about that too. Like, both Spoo and I want to do like clip videos, that like a
mhm.
compilation, like you said, of all the people, just when we start a hype train and they like kind of lose their minds and they're
Mhm.
just having a really good time. Like, we want to do compilations, but now you have the DMCA stuff, so it's like
Right.
a lot of people have disabled their clips now, and it's getting harder to do those videos because of everything that's going on.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think it's just gathering clips is the hardest part about making videos,
That's what
in
Spoo
my opinion.
says. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I release 3 highlight videos every week from my stream. I I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. Sorry, I don't buy it.
Wow, called out by
Especially
Shen for
especially in the Pixel
disabilities.
Discord when they've submitted all the clips for you, and all you literally have to do is just watch them and say yes, no, yes, yes, no, yes, no, 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 yes. Like, come on. Come on.
Well, you know what? Maybe we'll hire you to do them
Hey,
every
I'm up for
every
it.
week.
I'm up for it. If it pays as much as my part-time job, I mean, goodbye part-time job. Hello clip editor. I'll do it.
Yeah, yeah, I do need
Might
to. I
have
need to
to
get better about it.
might have to
There's
up
just,
my professionalism a little bit. I don't exactly have the polish down, but I can make good content. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
yeah. Videos are tough. I've just recently started getting involved with making videos, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. But they're choppy. Like I watch them and I'm like, ooh, I guess I probably could have done that better, but it's you know, it's learning the software and kind of learning how to transition things right and
Right.
hitting it at the right time.
Yeah.
But making videos is a lot of fun. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of fun.
Show is. I like
Yeah.
doing it.
Me too.
I would say doing more flashy transitions is a little more not what I'm up to yet. And it might be a software issue. I don't know because I use freeware, so it might just be that I
Mm,
don't have software that does it in a way that looks good. So I just kind of do the more rudimentary stuff. But Bax
yeah.
really has a good command of clip editing, so I'm always taking notes whenever he does highlight work and try to see if there's anything I can replicate in my own stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Bax is really talented at making those videos. So I got a Adobe mainly for the Photoshop, but it came with I just got the whole thing because it was basically the same price as just getting Adobe. So I was like, whatever, I'm just getting it all. So I have a Premiere Pro is what it's called. And it's super confusing, but it's really easy at the same time because it has those transitions kind of built in where I just basically drag them over to where I want them to do it. And it does the flashy stuff all on its own.
Right,
So,
right.
but again, I mean, it's, you know, software you got to pay for, but if you get big into videos, it might be worth it to look into. But like I said, it's like any Adobe product, the software is so confusing. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm a little bit lazy. I don't like to watch tutorial
I think there's
videos.
also the learning curve too, right? Is because once you get a program that can do what you want it to do, it's capable of doing so much more stuff. And then it's just like, here's a list of everything you can do, and you're like, I just wanted to do the one thing. It's
Yep.
like, so it does
Right.
have
And
that
that's my problem is
that
there's so much to
wall
do in
that you
it.
have to just like start chipping away at one thing at a time.
Yeah. And there's so much to do in it. And I was like, I could watch a tutorial, but I think I'll just mess it up about 67 times first and then I'll just figure out how to do
Right,
it. Because that's going to stick with me longer anyway.
right. And that's what's nice about the highlight clips is that it doesn't have to be as polished. You can just kind of do like jump cuts and pacing transitions. But
Hmm.
if I wanted to make like an actual YouTube video, I would probably have to sit down for quite a long time and really start working to polish some stuff up. Kind of like when I do my tilted commercials. That's always like a week long project of trying to make sure everything's doing like I have everything timed to the frame. Like the music starts fading out at this frame, and this scene starts fading out at this frame, and then there's going to be 3 seconds black screen, and then it's going to take 20 frames to fade back in. Like it's like I have everything dialed into the T. So
Yeah. And those look really good. Like, I love those videos, like the Tilted Acres video you guys knocked out.
it's a good one.
Cracks me up every time I watch it.
It's a good one.
Every time.
It was a
Especially the
hard one
part
to
where,
edit
like,
because I was laughing the whole time.
when you're telling them to cut
Yeah.
it, that's the part
It's
that
like
gets me
don't look at that
every
part.
single time.
Don't pay attention to that part of tilting. We'll just focus on those easy blue levels. That's all we need to worry about.
Yeah, it's really good. So yeah, keep putting those videos out. They're very much enjoyed by the community.
I was hoping to get it done before the tilt tournament, but the one I'm working on now is the Single Light Blues. So it's going to be like a blues music video,
Mm.
and it's going to be everyone dying horribly on level 25 to 29. So waiting for a couple more clips to get submitted. And I'm sure we'll get a lot from the tournament.
Gosh.
And Go Teach and I are working on the lyrics, and I already have a piano. I got some blues bars I can pass through to make it work.
That's gonna be hilarious. I can't wait
So
for that to come out.
should be a good one. There's another one I've been working on, which is I want to do like a satire pharmaceutical commercial, like is tilting right for you kind of a thing, and really just finding like all of the real side effects that you could like jokingly say are side effects of tilting, and just
Anger,
like put them all in there.
screaming.
Like
You can add
unusual
clips.
dreams and
Right.
inability to
As-
swallow or sleep, like just have like have all the horrific side effects that are actual real medical side effects, but you could argue also apply to tilting and just put them all in one commercial. So
Yeah. Extreme
But
arrogance
that's-
where you claim to be the greatest tilter alive.
Hey.
Things like that, you know?
I got a record. It's not just me saying it. The numbers say it. All right. Look.
I wasn't talking about you though. I was talking about myself.
Oh, okay. Well, you can prove that on tomorrow if you want.
No,
Throw down with the rest of them.
no, I said it in jest, and one of my mods clipped it and now has it as a sound command in his stream too.
That's how it happens.
There's that. Yep. Yeah, there he is.
There he is.
Bragging about
the
it.
old skanking monkey. She wasn't joking. Have you done any? You didn't do the tilt off with Deathluck, did you? I don't know if he's still running those or not.
I think he tried to get me to, and I was like, listen, I love you, but no. No, my tilting skills go up until about level like 12. Yeah. It's it's wherever the red ones start, 15.
15, yeah. So
as soon as I get to the reds, I'm like, well, we're done.
You could grind out blue and pink 100%, so you could still compete. It's kind of the point of the whole first half, is to give those people who can't get as far still something that they can be good at. Because that's the biggest thing. Like, as far, especially as a streamer in tilting, is what attracts people is the free points, right? So if you can show that you get 100%, even if you're only getting to level 20, in all honesty, points per hour, you don't want to tilt past 20. Probably not even past 15, honestly. So someone who just grinds from 0 to 20 and is getting close to 100% every level, that's a grinder sanctuary. So you don't have to be like good at tilting. You just have to be reliable at tilting to be attractive to a lot of viewers. So
that's not what you find in my channel. You find me dumping all the balls off on level 8.
I think your channel is a bit more based on entertainment anyway. I wouldn't describe you as a grinder streamer.
Truth. That is very, very true.
So there is that. Well, since we've wiggled our way over into the tilting land, tilt instruction is something I've tried to take on as far as a mantle goes. And you've expressed interest in, seeking out more instruction. What would you like to see from either the marbles community or even just more narrowly the tilt community as far as like fostering education?
It would be cool to see some kind of like, I want to call it an instructional video, because that's what I would like to reference, like, of how to handle each of the obstacles. So like the one that I struggle a lot with is the squeegee into the bridge.
Right.
So when you have that squeegee and all you have is this tiny little section to get all the balls back over and onto the bridge. So I struggle with that one more than anything. Like when I see that, I'm just kind of like, I tell everybody, hey, we're probably all about to die. Just FYI, because I don't know how to handle it. So like how to approach each of those obstacles would be awesome if there was like an instructional video, like, hey, the best way to do this is to,
And that's something I did for the old tilt. I've been kind of waiting a little bit for this new tilt to stabilize, and I think we're getting there. So I've kept the techniques because most of those still apply. So I still have the techniques as a playlist that people can watch through. And what I did before is I broke up the tiles by difficulty. And I think what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to break up the tiles just by the tile. So like as the tile changes through the difficulties and going over them through the difficulties. The trick is trying to record that so that it's a smooth transition. So basically I want to be able to lead off at the end of one difficulty on a tile. So let's just pick the squeegee, for example, right? So you have trapezoid squeege first. So that would be the first clip. And then when I finish that, I need to lead off into my next clip, which would be the maze squeege, which I would then have to pick up from when I start the maze squeege tutorial. And then that would lead off into the faster squeeges and stuff like that. And that would probably also go into something like the stairs, where they have full walls, partial walls, no walls kinds of things. So I would want to do that, because what that allows me to do is when it's in its easiest form, I can kind of just demonstrate the general feel and tackling of the tile. And then I can get into the more specifics of it and the more rare cases of it as the tiles get more difficult. So something like the squares are pretty easy until they lose the corners. So I can go over the squares generally when it's the corners one, and then I can specifically go over the no corners strategies when I go to that portion of the clip. So there's just going to be a bit of a orchestration of making sure I know exactly what progression of tiles I want to do and how I want to transition between each of the cutscenes. So good news for you, it's coming. I just got to get there.
Nice, yeah.
I
You
got to
just got
get
to
there. So.
organize the crap out of it, right? Basically, get a pencil and paper and write down every single obstacle there is, and then put it into groups that you want to do and
Yep.
handle it like that.
And the other thing I did last time for the old tilt, I did have a separate playlist that was just like common tile combos. But the issue there is one, I have to get the tile combo myself, and then two, I have to not screw it up when I'm trying to demonstrate it. So it's not always
That's the
easy to
hard
get the
part.
actual clip of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but definitely good to know what's on some people's minds as far as figuring out what needs to go on. Anything you think could happen more socially?
I think what you guys have going on right now is great. I think that each time you do one of these tilted tournaments, you get a little bit more participation, it seems like.
Yes.
It gets a little bit more exposure, and the more people kind of network it and show people, and like now with people being able, like the grinders being able to basically not use any energy by being in these in the tilted streams, you see more and more people in the tilted and more people that are new to the game seeing it on streams and being like, what is that? And
Right.
like going in there to see what people are doing. And I've had people I've met through Marble Team come in and they're like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you about it. And then I get to explain. And then next time I go into their stream, they're like, dude, I can't stop playing this mode. Like, I can't stop. I need to get better. And I'm like, it's addicting. So it's getting more and more exposure, I think. And I think it gives people that are super competitive with games something else to do, because the racing part, there's nothing you can do with your marble. When you drop it on the board, it's going to do whatever it's going to do. You have zero control over it. So there's people that try to get competitive with it, and it's like you can't get that competitive with an RNG game, where you have zero. I mean, I know there's people that grind the leaderboards and whatnot,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say the competition is more time based, which not everyone has. So Tilted's kind of a way to be competitive with it when you don't have the time to compete on the leaderboard.
exactly. It's like something that you can practice and get better at, is how I feel, where like with the RNG portion of it, you can't get better RNG. It's either, the balls are with you or the balls are not with you. So you know, it's just kind of if you get lucky and if you don't, and that's how it goes. So I think the tilted mode is good for those that like to improve their game and get better at games. So I think it brings a lot to a different section of people in marbles, which is good. It's good to appeal to different types of personalities and different types of people who are gaming and doing things on Twitch. So I think it's a good thing to have, and I hope it keeps building. So
Yeah, I honestly think I wish more people would share like discoveries and strategies, especially higher difficulty stuff. I feel like there's not enough of that goes on. I try to do as much as I can, but I rarely ever hear anything back. Maybe that's just my particular position, because most people come to me for questions rather than coming to me with answers. But I also think people aren't taking those risks. Like they're so worried about getting to their next PB that they don't want to try something new. They don't want to try to experiment. And that's kind of where I pick up a lot of slack. That's something I get very frustrated with a lot of times, is people will go back to watch my original clips from like the OG tilt and like, oh my god, it looks so easy. It was like, yeah, because you didn't have me back then who already knew all the fucking answers. I had to figure it all out for 5 months just to know what we could even do in the fucking game. Like, the amount of knowledge that has been generated by the tilt community to allow people to succeed as quickly as they do these days, that I don't think people can quantify it. It's not something you can grasp from as an outsider, just knowing how much has been built up since the beginning.
Right. And there's going to be those people that, like in any community, you're going to have people that want to help and improve and come up with new ideas, be innovative. And you're going to have the people that don't, that just want to play the game and not be involved of any like behind the scenes stuff, or trying to make things better for other people. There's just sometimes it's not in people's personalities to want to be involved in it. And
Right.
that's fine if they don't want to. But it's good that we have a lot of people in this community that do want to be involved and do want to better the game and help people along. So hopefully as Tilted continues to grow, you'll get a little like higher ratio of those people that are like, hey, this is really cool, but this is what I figured out. Like, what if, you do it this way, and this is what's worked for me, and this is how I've done this, and like I tried this way and this worked a little bit better. What do you think? Like people that are willing to collaborate a little bit more. So I think as it continues to grow and continues to get a little bit bigger and get some more attention, then you will start to see more people coming in that are like that and willing to try some new things and try out some new methods. So it just takes time to build up and get the right people and the right combination of people to really make some magic happen.
I agree. I think we have enough people there for that. I just don't think enough people are interested in it or don't have the time for it. I don't know.
Yeah, but again, that it goes back to you have a pool of people and this percentage is going to want to improve and help out, and then the rest of them are not. So, the bigger pool you get,
right,
the more your pool of people that want to help, like your percentage may stay the same and your ratio may be the same, but you're going to get more people in the I want to learn, I want to improve, I want to innovate section, which will, like I said, I think as the game continues to grow, you'll see more and more people get involved and want to help out and learn new things and think about new ways to do things.
Makes sense to me. I can only hope it happens quickly.
Yeah. You got to be patient. Things will happen, but in their own time.
That's something actually Standard Damage commented on not too long ago. He's saying how initially it was like to find the tilted streamers, you just scroll to the bottom of the category, right? But now he's been saying like, no, that's like they're right there. They're right on the first page of the category. I'll see tilters up there. It's like,
yep,
pushing them.
It's I actually struggle to find people rolling normal races anymore. Like when I'm looking for people during Marble Team with the lower number of viewers, and I sort the list from low to high viewers, and all I see is tilted like everywhere, and I'm like, oh, I'm looking for somebody who's racing so I can tell them about how to race, because I'm useless when it comes to tilting. I can't explain tilting. Right. And most of the people are, they already know. They know better than I am. They're on levels like 20 and 25, and I'm like, oh, I can't get up that high.
Yeah. So it's good to see. We're getting there.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep on grinding.
Yep, exactly.
I think I'm the only tilter that's stuck with it since season 11. We've had a lot of people come and go, and a lot of people here now that didn't start initially. I know. Trying to think who we had. Niffer for the win. I think she's been on and off though. She hasn't always been there, but she's had a lot of real life stuff that she's been dealing with. So I'll give her a full pass and a half on that one.
How nice of you.
She's had plenty to do with more than needing to worry about tilting. So
yeah. How long's Dark Madden been around? Just a couple seasons, right?
2. This is his third.
That's it?
This is his third. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So
I'm trying to think. I know Miss Waffles has been around too.
Exactly. That's what I say. It's like a lot of people have been on and off. So you, Niffer for the win. Trying to think. Custom Fitted, but he doesn't really play as much anymore. Fedge. Demon Speeder. They've all been on and off. But I think I'm the only one that's like actually stuck with it season to season. So.
Yep.
It is what it is. I don't blame you guys.
King of tilted,
it's awful. It's awful. Don't do it. It really does like kill you after a while. You can only do it for so long. So, I mean, as a fun thing from time to time, absolutely. But like trying to just be in it, ugh, ugh, ruins your soul. Straight up
Awfully
ruins.
fun.
Do you have any questions related in these areas before I
Um,
shift gears on you?
I think that my only one was what draws you so much like to Tilted. Like I know that you have a couple different things that you are drawn to in the game, but what is it about Tilted that really kind of captivates you?
Mm, I don't know if it's captivation, but there's that good blend of puzzle and skill that you don't get from a lot of other games. So it's a little bit in the Myst games realm. Um, in that, like, there's no instruction manual, there's no information. It's just you and a board figure it out. Um, but then there's also that puzzle aspect of like what is the best way to do this, right? Not just how do I get through it, but what's the best way to get through it because this will happen again. So it's kind of like it does have that appeal of it's different every time because it's RNG, procedurally generated, and so the skill is not it's not like a Mario 64 speed run where it's just like I do these commands at these points and then I'm in the end. It's a lot more of what blanket knowledge do I need to be able to be prepared for any situation and just take the situations one at a time as they come. So I really like that aspect of it. It's not the same thing over and over again, but you can still build a pool of knowledge to tackle it as if it were.
Hmm.
So
I like that. I never really thought about that, that it's different every single time, so it's always like a new challenge. I like it.
you
Good
never know
answer.
how you're gonna die, but you know you're gonna die.
This is
Just
true.
like real life.
You go in knowing that you're gonna die, you just don't know how it's gonna happen.
Yeah. So that's it. All right, I'm gonna shift gears. You ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
Shift it.
What direction should society be taking right now? You can specify this to America if you want, or we can globalize it if you want. It's up to you.
Oh man. Starting off with these big questions, Shens. It is 12:30
What I
in the
do?
afternoon.
Welcome to the show, Prophetic. I eased you in for a good 40 minutes. I don't want to hear it. I gave you a good 40-minute ease in here. It's time to get to the actual meat of the talk show here.
All right. So what direction should society go?
Yeah.
I think that we all need to go in the direction of figuring out how the F to get along with each other and stop just yelling at each other for stupid things and find a common ground that we all need to kind of compromise things on. Because right now there's so much, and it's not, I mean, it's mainly America, but I think it's all over the world that we've just gotten to a point where people are so angry at each other that no matter what you say, even if it makes logical sense, you're here, I'm here, and we're not talking at all. We don't agree on anything. So
Right.
even if it makes logical sense, you refuse to hear the other person because you have so much anger inside about things. So I think that society as a whole needs to kind of let go of the anger that's been brewing for the past decade is what I'm going to call it, and learn how to work together to kind of save our life pretty much. Because I think if we continue heading in this direction with one side being a completely like one way and the other side being a complete different way, like there's things that both need to change to make life on this planet work. And I think that there's some people that need to admit that a lot of things are not fake news. There is an issue with the environment. There is something that needs to be addressed, and you can't just keep denying it and saying it doesn't exist when there's a ton of evidence everywhere that it does. So it's just I think people need to and I'm not, again, I don't want to get into politics because I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to politics. So I don't want to talk politics because I don't know enough to
Mm-hmm.
really defend anything. But I know how I feel about certain things, and I'm kind of like right smack in the middle because
Mm.
there are some things that I agree with on both sides. So I'm a middle of the road kind of person where I think everybody just needs to shut the F up, stop being so angry with each other, and figure out how to make things work. Like, be adults and work together. Don't just be angry at people. Everybody's so angry with each other, and it's
Well,
so frustrating.
I think we can dissect this a little more. Let me agree with you first, and then I'll go into some desperation. Um, let's see. So, yes, common ground is essential to formulating a progress as a unified force, and there's plenty of common ground there. Like, oh hey, more than half of the people in the country that are working full-time jobs are living paycheck to paycheck. That's a
Hmm.
problem. I think
Yes.
that's like 90% of the population. I think we can all get behind that. And there's very important things that everyone agrees with. And that is the kind of unifying force that we could harness as a society. However, um, what you describe as anger, I would describe as fear. I don't think people are angry. I think they're afraid. And they don't know what to be afraid of because they don't know what to trust. And that creates a sort of paranoia, which can come off as anger because they're constantly defensive all the time. Um, but I think it's actually stem rooted in fear and not anger. Um,
And I
and
could see that. I can agree with that.
the desperation that I take at this point is that while common ground is important for that unifying force, the issue being there's certain things you can't take common ground on, right? So to to risk getting a little political, you don't have to comment on this, but I'll comment on this. Um, you know, Permanently separating children from their parents is not a common ground. You can't say, incarcerate everyone that's a refugee as a prisoner and don't incarcerate anyone and say, well, maybe there's a middle ground where we just, put them in a holding cell for a couple of months. Like, no, it's either an atrocity or it's not an atrocity. You don't get to have a common ground there. And that stems further politically. So going back to my average full-time worker is living paycheck to paycheck. Even if 90% of the country is unified behind that movement, the political powers at hand aren't going to represent that at a 90 to 10% ratio. It might be split, it might be a majority in the other direction. So there's points, and it might be unfortunate that we're at one of those points historically, where you can't have middle ground, where there is immoral atrocity being attributed to some small sect of people in a position of power, and they need to be held accountable and they need to be taken down. So going back to what you were describing as anger, the anger there would be justified. You know, if you are being marginalized and being stripped of your ability to vote because the access to voting machines and registration is so convoluted, I think you're rightfully angry. If you're living in a community that's constantly distraught with poverty and police are manipulating that to further your desperation so that you resort to crime so that they can incarcerate more of your people so there's less people working in the economy so it continues to get poorer as a community, I think that's justified to be angry at, right? So it's tricky to dissect, like I said. So I agree, common ground definitely essential to move forward as a nation. Um, but it can be a little bit of a tricky ground because there are certain things I would argue you can't get common ground on as a society. You know, they'd be
Hmm.
like trying to argue common ground is slavery. Like, let's look at it historically, right? Like, would you vie for common ground on slavery? Like, okay, maybe we'll just keep a couple slaves, right? Like, right? Like, you
Well, then
have to, at some point, you have to say, no, it's not acceptable, right?
So let me clarify. When I say common ground, I'm saying like we kind of need to look at things logically and
Yes.
make certain people understand why certain things are wrong.
Yes.
Like that's the common ground that I mean. Like
Right.
people need to understand that, like you just did. We don't need to like go after each other with guns and create a civil war. We just need to have a discussion where people can explain their side and kind of show the logic behind things.
Right.
That's what I mean by common ground. Like
Right.
have a discussion, understand the logic, but people don't even want to listen
Right.
to the logic of either side right now because everybody's so defensive. We'll use that word rather than angry because I think that's a better word for it. That everybody's defensive and they just assume that you're telling them they're wrong. And it's like, no, I actually want to see your side because I don't know your side.
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't lived in that part of society, so I don't understand it because I've never been there,
Right.
like, but I like to experience different cultures. I like to experience different ways of life and I like to understand how people view things because that's just my personality. Like I like to make logical decisions based on the most amount of data that I can collect. And if I don't know about something, I won't decide on it. And that's why I say with politics, I avoid them because I don't know enough. So like people want to argue politics with me and it's like if you explain it to me logically, I'll tell you where I stand on it. But I don't watch the news. All I know from my perspective right now and not getting too far into it, everybody that is in a higher political office right now is garbage, in my opinion. That's just my own
Vast
opinion.
majority. Vast
It's
majority.
they are garbage because they're worried about money, they're worried about power, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not concerned about the people that they're governing.
Yep.
So, like for me, I say empty all of these high power positions, get rid of them, and get some actual like common people in there that are actually concerned with the overall good of the country and the people in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people that are in there right now, no matter what they tell you on TV and at their rallies and everything else, they're lying.
Mm-hmm.
That's in my opinion. They're all liars. They're all liars and they can't be trusted. Let the scientists run it.
My
Like, you know,
my idea that will never fly, but I think is a good idea, is put like a $1 million cap. Like anyone who's ever earned or received more than $1 million in a year cannot be in political office. Period. And it
right.
doesn't have to be permanent. Just for like 25 years. Just for like we'll just
And
let it run for a couple decades and see what happens. Because clearly,
let's
giving
add
the
in
people with
there.
money all the power is not working. So let's try
No,
something different for a while.
no, it
Right.
doesn't. And let's add in there like a full psych evaluation too. Like make them answer some logical questions and like do just a basic logic test to see if they can just think through a problem. And I feel like that starting with that, like take a test. Like you have to pass this test to be in a political office. And if you can't think through this basic test, like you can't be in there. And that's it. That's the only thing that you need. You can't have made over a certain amount of money and you have to pass the test.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll see how you do. But it's,
I'd be for that. The argument I've raised quite often is that emotions serve the individual, and logic serves the public. And I think that's a separation people need to be educated in. I think that
mhm,
goes kind of back to schooling, is the regurgitation of facts, especially in a day and age where we're all instantly connected to facts, is not useful anymore. What we need is how to cite sources and research whether sources are reliable or not. We need to be taught, how to interact with police in a healthy manner, how modern civilization is structured, you know, basic governmental processes you should be aware about, like tax law and, what your rights are and are not when it comes to defending yourself and defending others, like
right.
actually educating people about how to exist in the world rather than just educating people about the world. Maybe a couple
Mhm.
more life skills could be prioritized with like, auto shops could be doing a class that everyone has to take one semester of before they graduate high school. Or, computer tech. Everyone should know how to be able to take apart and put together a computer. Basic kind of things that could be a lot more applicable to a lot of people's lives that they might actually use later in life rather than just testing their ability to regurgitate. I think a part of that teaching would be kind of into philosophy, where you need to understand that your emotional reaction to something is not a guiding process for the majority. You know, if someone's having a crisis, telling them a very logical solution is not going to help them. You need to meet them emotionally. But if a community is in crisis, getting emotional is not going to fix the problem. You need to tackle it logically. And that's kind of the point, is each has its place, each is a tool, needs to be used properly. And using the emotion in the large scale is bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely agree there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it's you can with this whole political thing too, you can agree with both sides. Like, I mean, I'll get political for a second just because I know we'll talk about it at some point. But so like I'm more all for people owning guns. That's something that I'm for. However, I don't agree with how it's currently done because too many people have access to them that shouldn't have access to them. So it's like this is where I'm in the middle because I'm for more gun control, but I don't want all the guns gone because I personally like guns, but it was way too easy for me to get a concealed weapon license in Florida. It was way too easy. I took one test. I sat somewhere for 2 hours, learned about guns, how to put them together and take them apart. I shot the gun once. I didn't even need to hit the target in the right spot. All I had to do was hit the target. The target is like 36 by 24, and you're 7 yards away from it. All you have to do is hit the target. That's it.
Can you use a shotgun?
No, you have to use a pistol, but all you have to do is hit the target. And I'm like, that's it. And then you have to pay a fee. And I finished it, and I was like, that was way too easy. Like, nobody asked me. They asked me if I've ever tried to commit suicide,
Right.
and like if I have a history of depression. And like you're asking somebody, nobody's like got a. It's like nobody that can read body language. You're just asking a question. You have to check no on a sheet of paper and sign it. So it's like this is not a proper way to hand somebody a license to carry a gun in public. Like this is not okay. So, my own personal beliefs on it kept me from carrying anything. Like I got the license, but I didn't actually start carrying a gun for like I think maybe 6 to 8 months after I got the license because I wouldn't carry it until I could hit a like 2 inch by 2 inch target at 21 like yards away with a pistol because if I'm going to carry a gun and I actually need to use it, I don't want it hitting anybody else. Like I need to actually hit the target that I'm going after, and that's the only way that I felt comfortable enough to do it. So I think there needs to be psych evals. Like I'm big on psych evals for a lot of different things because I think you need professionals that have been trained, can read body language, can tell when somebody's lying about something or being untruthful. I think those are very, very necessary before anybody is allowed to buy a gun. Like no matter what, even if you're not going to carry it, for you to even purchase the gun, I feel like you should have to go through a full psych evaluation to make sure that you're not going to take that and do something with it. But the problem that comes in with the guns too is they can be stolen. So, you need to have it's a slippery slope because I can argue I have a degree in philosophy. I don't know if you know that. So that degree warrants me the ability to argue any point. So
Right.
if you give me two different sides, I'll argue either one. So
Right.
I can argue for gun control and getting rid of all the guns, or I can argue everybody should have a gun. Like I can argue both sides. It's unfortunate. So I stand by like I should own guns because I like them and I like to shoot them and I'm responsible with them. So like that's my argument is I should be allowed.
Right.
But there's other people that should not be allowed. But it's like how far do you go down that line to pick out the right people? And everybody's going to have different opinions, and then you have the people that are like, oh, you're not going to take our guns. It's like, listen, some of you shouldn't own guns. You're crazy. Like you shouldn't have them. And then there's other people that it's like you see people getting like murdered because somebody broke into their house, and it's like you guys should have had a shotgun. Like you should have had something to protect yourselves. So it's that thin line of who makes the decisions. And again, I think it comes down to who makes the decisions are educated people that have the skills needed to make these decisions.
Right.
And I bring it back to the people that are currently running this country do not have those skills, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to be something a lot of people are going to be against, but honestly, I think digital regulation of guns is a good direction to go. There's actually a really good Japanese anime that was like a futuristic detective movie or detective show, essentially. And classic Japanese future society kind of a thing. And the gun they had was practically a completely digital gun that, it knows if the owner of the gun is holding it or not, so it can be on or off. And it can choose to be lethal or non-lethal kind of a thing. No, not Cowboy Bebop. It was a more recent one. I'm just blanking on the name right now. So the idea of that, but even a little bit further, the argument I always raise, and I understand this is not how guns work. I'm not ignorant to guns, but my argument, blanket argument, societally, as far as I go for gun control, is like, I think the public safety is the biggest governing factor for how guns should be regulated. And in my opinion, societally, right, the only arguable reasons for owning a gun are personal protection, hunting, and sport. And in all three of those situations, I don't see a need to have anything that has a high number of rounds, nor do I see a need to have anything that can fire more than once a second. And again, I understand that's not how guns work. You have manual, you have semi-automatic, you have automatic. It's a whole thing. And, a guy with an old-fashioned revolver could fire all 5 shots in under a second. I get it. But with digital regulation, you could actually construct guns in a way that fit a more reasonable model, in my opinion, in that, like, you don't need to be able to kill 10 people in under a minute. That something like that should not be accessible to the public. It makes no sense to me. But
You've never competed, though.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand. For sport, I get it. But again, why do you need access to that? Like, I understand developing a skill and getting better at something and having fun doing it. But, you could argue then why aren't we allowed to have hand grenades? Because I like doing hand grenade tosses. Right? Like, right? Because it's irresponsible to give someone a hand grenade, right? So it's that same kind of argument, right?
And again, it goes back to the sport of it. So like my carry gun is different from my competition gun, and I would never dream of carrying my competition gun anywhere because it's a competition gun.
Right.
It's made for competing. My carry gun only has 10 rounds in it. That's because you want it small, you want it compact,
right.
and I'm not going to need more than 10.
Because it's only for personal protection,
like if it takes me more than 2 shots to get rid of the person that's coming, like that I'm defending myself from, then I shouldn't be having a gun on me anyway.
Right.
Because if you're skilled enough to be carrying one, and again, this is my opinion, that if you're carrying a gun, you better be skilled enough to only need 1 shot out of it.
Right.
To defend yourself.
Right.
And that's all that, from me, that's all that I need, because I'm skilled enough with it that all I would need is 1 shot to take care of any type of threat to me. Unless there's more than 1 person. So that's what it comes down to is, okay, well, how many people do you feasibly think that you might be able to defend yourself against? And if there's more than 10 people coming at me, like I'm effed anyway. Like,
gun's gonna
I
save
shouldn't
you.
even bother. Like, I'll do what I can, but if there's more than 10 people coming at me, unless they're in a straight line, I might have a chance just because of my competition background.
Right.
But my competition gun is a pistol. It's a 9mm. It can fit 24 rounds in it because I don't like to reload my gun.
Right.
And when you're doing competitions, you have 10 seconds to get through about 50 targets. So in those 10 seconds, you have to hit 50 different targets. And I don't want to reload my gun more than I need to.
Right.
So if I have 24, each magazine can hold 24, which means that the entire gun can hold 25. I only need to reload once that whole time.
Right.
So
1 in the chamber.
Exactly. And it's about the sport of it, but I would never dream of carrying the competition gun. Is made for competitions. It has a special trigger. It has a special sight. It's only made for competitions because it is a quick fire, rapid gun. It's not a fully automatic. I mean, it's a semi-auto, but
Right.
if you're skilled enough, it's essentially, like I said, you shoot off 50 rounds within 8 to 10 seconds. But again, it's the sport of it.
Right.
So this is where I mean, like, it's arguing each way and understanding that you have to have the mindset to understand the difference between them and understand what you're doing with these weapons. And this is where I think it's important that people need to have this conversation. And like, speaking to me, it's like, well, do you feel comfortable with me owning a gun? You know me well enough. You know what I do, and you know that I understand the difference between a sporting gun and an actual I'm going out and might need to defend myself gun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, this is the importance of talking to somebody before giving them this kind of weapon. So I like the idea of like a Katniss Everdeen type of weapon where it only works for you. I think that's kind of awesome. And I hope that they come up with some kind of biometrics in the future that will do that, where the gun only like works to the person that it was assigned to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best solution for everything, is that it only works, like, if you steal a gun, it will never work for you.
Right.
If you don't take the hand of the person or like the eyes of the person that you've stolen it from. But you know, kind of like how the phones now, they read your face. If they could implement that technology into a gun, that would be a great solution, I think. So see, we've agreed on something, that biometrics on weapons is the way to go.
Awesome. Let's do it. Let's do it, legislators. Make it happen. We solved it for you. We solved the problem for you. Let's go.
Oh, man.
Well, I mean, that does kind of bring us right into the topic at hand. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Midstream Mix-Up! Yay! Fancy graphics for no reason.
I'm a little dizzy after that.
So, as discussed, you are a competitive shooter.
Yes.
I grew up being friends with some competitive shooters, although in different avenues. So you're talking about, the 50 targets in 10 seconds, but you also have like mobility shooting, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to get into what that's 50... like?
So when I do a competition, how it's basically set up is you have this little section of the range. Mm-hmm. They have a bunch of different types of targets, some low, some high, steel, paper, cardboard. You have to shoot around things. You have to like go into little things, get on the ground sometimes. So it's moving and shooting is pretty much what I do. So it's about speed and accuracy. They have different ratings for each of the targets. Like the steel ones, as long as you hit it, you get points for it. But they have different areas of the target. So like the head and the chest is your A areas, and you have another outline that's B and another outline that's C. So when you do these competitions, your goal is to be the fastest and be the most accurate, and accuracy counts more than speed does. So you start off, you have a little, the range officer behind you with his little timer thing. It goes off loud beeps, and it registers the time after each shot. So it like detects your shot and registers how long each shot is, and then the overall time of the entire run. So start off, you know where you're supposed to go. They explain it before you do it, and then it's just, left, do this, run through them, make sure you hit every target. You got to shoot around barrels. You have to lean different ways and look down and look up, and it's just all about moving around, making sure you hit what you're shooting for, and
kind of like
you miss, you lose a lot
the
of
viral
points.
Keanu Reeves training video kind of stuff.
Right. Exactly.
Now, I've noticed.
But and if you miss the target, you lose a lot of points for it.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of those kinds of competitions. Said I was growing up with someone who was actually into black powder rifle shooting. So that's like old-fashioned deer hunting, Appalachian stuff. And I always noticed that like the women always seem to dominate that, especially the mobility shooting. And you could argue like biologically, like they have a lower center of gravity or whatever. But you being a woman might have a little bit better explanation as to what might be going on there. You think there's a psychological aspect to it?
I'm a little offended. I'm just kidding.
Do you think there's a psychological aspect to it as well, or do you think it is just strictly like a biological stature kind of thing?
I think that the sport is dominated by men. So I think that maybe some of it may just be that maybe they are a little bit more agile just because they are a little, women tend to be a little bit smaller. But I mean, I'm a big girl, so I don't move as quickly as some of the men that I compete against because I'm bigger. So I'm a little bit slower than some of them. I'm not by any means the best. Um, but I'm pretty damn good. Not to be a little bit, not to be arrogant, but I'm
Right.
pretty damn good. And what makes up for me is the accuracy.
Right.
I'm really accurate when I shoot, so I can afford to be a little bit slower. But I don't know. I'm trying to think too. The people that are always winning the competitions that I go to are usually men, just because it's a ratio thing too.
Right. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
there's when I go to competitions, if there's 100 people there, maybe 5 of them are females. Like
Gotcha.
it's just the sport is dominated by men,
Hmm.
and it's just how it is because it's not. I don't know if it's not considered ladylike. I don't know why. I think that some women might be afraid of it, because it is intimidating. I mean, I went to the range the other day, and I had my aunt and my uncle visiting in town from New Jersey, and I took my uncle, and he was scared, man. And he was in the army, and he was like, oh, my I had him with because I have a rifle as well, and I had him working with the AR-15, and he was like, oh, but like, am I gonna get hurt? And I was like, no, dude, you're not gonna get hurt. Like, just handle it how I tell you, you'll be fine. And he's like, oh well, uh, okay, all right. I'm like, people are, and they should be, because it's a dangerous weapon. So you should have a level of respect for it. But I don't know if that maybe plays on why there's not as many women involved in the sport, because it is a little bit intimidating. And I think that a lot of women do see it as like, oh, well, this is a man's sport. And
Mm.
I don't, I'll go to the range with my boyfriend, and, he can set it all up for me, and then I'll just fire it. Um, but I think we all know that's kind of not my personality.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Maybe I was just in
yeah.
a disproportionate area. I guess I don't know, but that's been my
Maybe, I mean,
experience.
maybe you just lived near a lot of really, really talented women, but I haven't met a lot.
Because
I've known a few women that do it,
right.
but there's not a lot down in Florida, and when I lived in Arizona, there was not a lot in Arizona
Mm.
either.
I feel
But
like it also translates just as far as accuracy goes, because like you look at Olympic arching, women are
mhm.
usually doing pretty well in the Olympic arching categories, especially compared to men. And probably not biathlon as much. I think that's probably still man dominated because of the endurance aspect. But just feel like it seems to just be something about accuracy that
Maybe.
works there.
I'm gonna have to see,
I don't
like,
know.
now I'm gonna look into this, that, right? Because
Look into it. Yeah, let
I'm
me
a
know what you
data
find.
person. So like as soon as we're done with this, I'm probably gonna go research on the internet and see if there's something biologically with women that gives us a, you know, calmer demeanor that makes us better
Maybe,
at
yeah,
hitting targets.
maybe
Like, who knows?
the handling yourself under pressure. Maybe, who knows?
Maybe.
Who
Maybe.
knows?
I'll have to look into it though.
Cool.
I'm actually gonna make a note for myself because now you got me curious about that. Can't tell me things like this, Shans. I'm too
Welcome to the
curious.
show. All
I'm
about
too
all
curious.
about making people better. So, if you want to learn something after this, then mission accomplished. Well, I think it's. I mean, we're already halfway to the mix-up anyway, so I think it's a successful finishing off of the mix-up there. So, thanks for the indulgence and the education.
Yeah,
Let
absolutely.
us know a little bit more about yourself. I mean, me personally, I don't think I would ever own a gun, but that's just me personally.
And some people shouldn't.
Right.
If you're not comfortable with them,
Right.
and if they scare you or they make you nervous, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. And that's what I said. Like, not everybody is meant to have one. You need a certain personality to handle it and be comfortable with it, and you need to be comfortable with it if you're
Right.
going to own it and use it. You need to be comfortable with that weapon. So there's some people that should own them, and there are some people that shouldn't own them, and there's some people that really, really really should never be allowed to touch one. So it's, and I don't judge people for it. Like there's people that are afraid of them. They're like, oh, well, you shouldn't have them. And it's like, listen, I respect everybody's opinion. Like whatever type of opinion, if you're afraid of them, that's fine. I respect that. And like I said, I tell people you should be afraid of them. They're weapons. They kill people. Like they can kill things and people. So you should be afraid of them. But I'm not going to judge anybody. Like I'm not going to judge anybody for it. Just like I hope that people don't judge me for owning them. Like I enjoy it as a sport and I feel better as a single woman. And things are crazy right now. I feel better being able to protect myself, like that's just, I feel better if somebody breaks down my door that I can cock a shotgun and be like, hey, get out of my house. Like you're not going to live through this if you continue to stay here. Get out. Like I wouldn't. And I always say that, like with the home defense, people are like, oh, well, you would just kill somebody like that. And it's like, no, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be like where I wouldn't even give them a warning and just fire. It would be I have a gun. I will fire it. You need to leave my house right now. That type of situation. Like I would not feel good about it. I don't want to end the life of anything. That's not my personality. And I would probably suffer for many, many years if I ever had to do it. But I like being able to protect myself. And, I know it will sound silly to anybody else, but like, and my dogs too, they're my babies. Like I feel bad if somebody came in and tried to take my dogs. So I just like being able to, call it protect your family with it. So
Makes
it's,
sense.
My safety blanket.
Cool. Well, you brought up New Jersey, so I think that can transition us out into the second half here. Now, as is routine, you more or less lead the second half. But if you had any,
do I?
If you had any Jersey questions relevant to the lead into the second half here.
I miss Jersey very much. Okay, so I have my list of questions here to ask you. So my first one, because I don't know, and you don't have to tell me if you're not comfortable with it, but how old are you, Shens? Because I have no idea how old you are.
I was talking about this with Slick Lithium last week, because we're what I describe as enigmatic chronophores, where we just have no age indicators of any kind. Why don't you guess first? Let's make you guess first, and then I can answer.
All right. So if I had to guess, I would say like 32 would be my guess.
I'm 33. That's a very good guess.
Nice. Guess. All right.
So
yeah, there's some people I can't tell. Like I can't tell how old Pixel is. I have no idea, and he won't tell anybody. So I'm just like, I assume he's between 30 and 35. Like I just assume everything.
Yeah, I would put him closer to 40, but hard to tell.
Would you? Yeah, I don't know. Because I'm almost 40, and I don't feel like he's as old as I am.
Pixel's 12. Confirmed. Thanks, Boot Master.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Boot. Confirmed.
Well done.
All right.
I believe it.
12 years old. Got it. I mean, he must have been to the military when he was like 7 then, right?
Yep. Well, it's Canada, Who knows what's going on up there.
Send those kids to war. Oh, gosh. Okay, cool. So that was my first question. And then my next one is going to be, have you been in Jersey your whole life?
No. So I was raised in New Jersey, and then young adult life was in Delaware, and the last 4 years I was in Colorado.
Oh, nice. So what brought you back to New Jersey from Colorado?
COVID.
Really? So you were in Colorado until the COVID thing started?
Yep, came back in April. So.
All right. So did you just decide to excuse me. Was it like job related or something?
It was a lot of things. I was already, like, my lease was up in April, so I was already looking for another place. The job I had then was going to be closing down because of COVID. And the thing about Colorado that a lot of people quickly learn is there's a weird window where, like, either you're gone in the first 5 years or you stay forever. And I was like, well, I don't want to stay forever. And it was my 4th year there. So I was like, it's probably time to go. And, just being able to come home, help out the parents to make sure they're okay and all that stuff. So
Nice.
just seemed like the right move to make because everything was kind of all there, ready to go.
Yeah. Yep. And you said Central Jersey, I think, right?
That's where I grew up. I'm
Okay.
currently on the shore.
Oh, you're down the shore?
Down the shore. I can see Atlantic City across the inlet.
Oh, nice.
Well,
Nice.
not nice.
I
We
like
actually
that.
pray for hazy days here, so it just kind of erases Atlantic City off of the landscape. I'm sure you know the drill.
I understand it. I mean, it's so Atlantic City is a lot of fun. It's a lot of
It is.
fun
It
if you
is.
like to
And it's
gamble.
actually gotten a lot better lately, thanks
Has
to
it?
the regional efforts.
Yeah, I haven't been there for probably about a decade, but I used to have a lot of fun gambling there. But it was never really pretty to look at
Nope.
from a distance.
Nope.
I mean, it was okay once you got on the boardwalk and you had the casinos there, but yeah, going into Atlantic City, it was never like, oh, look at the beautiful
No.
stuff.
Yeah. Not that great.
Yeah.
So.
But still, down the shore.
Mm-hmm.
Got that salt air,
Ooh, so good.
the Jersey Shore scent.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Um,
Did you have a favorite Jersey produce that you'd always get every time you came by? Especially if you're going to Atlantic City, you're going down 40. You got all the farm
yeah.
stands right there, selling produce on the side of the road.
So I think if I was a tomato person, it would probably be the tomatoes.
They are immaculate.
I'm really picky with my food. I'm gonna sound like such a baby right now, but I'm like a texture person. So I
That's
can
fine.
only eat the like edges of the tomato that
Right.
are hard.
Not the
I
gooch.
can't the jelly
Not the
in the middle
gooch.
grosses me out so
Grosses a lot of
much.
people out. Yeah.
It
No gooch.
grosses like I can't. There's people that just like my mother pops cherries or like cherry tomatoes into her mouth and just
Yep.
num num num, and I'm like, ugh, because of that jelly stuff in them.
Yes.
So yeah, I like tomatoes when they're transformed into like bruschetta
Right.
that
Right.
has like
Right.
garlic and the basil like that. I'm all about. But tomatoes on sandwiches are not my thing because of that disgusting interior of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that I think Jersey is very well known for their tomatoes, and I would kind of agree with that. That
I think
their tomatoes
I'm a
are
bit
very good.
more of a blueberry guy myself.
I'm not a berry person either.
Mm.
I keep trying to, for years I've been trying to eat more berries because they're so good for you. I can't do it. I don't
Not even
like
like a
them.
smoothie. Not even a berry
I
smoothie.
I try. I don't like them. I hate blueberries. I hate raspberries. Like the only one that I can
Dried
even stomach.
cranberries, goji berries, nothing.
Cranberries are gross. Goji berries are gross. The
I
only
eat
one I can
cranberries raw.
stomach
I
are.
love
Do
cranberries.
you
I eat
really?
them raw. I
No, I
love it.
can't. The only one that I've been like able to do are strawberries. That's it. And yeah, I guess technically bananas are berries too. I can eat bananas, but I prefer them in banana bread. That's where
Hmm.
I like my bananas. But yeah, I'm not a berry person. I don't know if it's like the taste of them is a little bit bitter, so that could be it.
Mm.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm a super picky eater.
Fair
So
enough.
there's a lot of stuff I don't like because I'm just kind of a child when it comes to eating. Like if I can get some chicken fingers, I'm a happy camper. That's all that I want out of life. Just chicken nuggets and chicken fingers. That's it. I'm good. Um, Favorite beach in New Jersey? How are you a beach person?
Ocean City, New Jersey has
I
very
don't
nice
think I've been
beaches.
there.
The sand is so fine. Like I
Really?
don't think people understand how fine the sand is. It is so fine. Like you go for a walk for like 3 miles and your feet are like perfectly polished. It's like you just went to a salon and got a full pumice stone pedicure, like perfectly smooth. It is
That's funny.
so nice. But
Yeah, I don't think I've heard of Ocean City, and I know a lot of people like it down
the
there.
sand is
But
so nice. We actually have annual sand sculpture contests.
really,
That's how nice
have
the
you ever
sand is.
participated in one?
No, I do my own like castle builds. but it's fun to go see like everything. Like they're huge, the 10 foot by 10 foot, 5 foot high mermaids, crabs, octopus, castles, whatever, sports cars. They make everything. It's crazy.
That's
It's
awesome.
crazy.
I always wanted to go to one of those. I think it's really cool the stuff that people come up with
Hmm.
at the sandcastle competitions that they have. But yeah, that's cool. I'm partial to Long Beach Island just because that's where we when I was a kid, that's where we vacationed. When we went down the shore, it was
Right.
always Long Beach Island. We had my aunt had a house down there when I was growing up, and then we had bought a house down there. A few years we only had it for a few years because my father had passed away, and then once he passed away, we couldn't afford it anymore, so we
Right.
got rid of it after that. But it was nice. We go down the shore. We'd take the my brother had a wakeboarding boat, so we would go out and sit on the sandbar for hours. Just well, they would drink. I'm not big into drinking. I don't drink, so they would drink and get really drunk, and then I'd get to drive the boat home. So that was a good time. A lot of good memories on the sandbar and the boat down the shore.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
You do raw shellfish at all or no?
Um,
Clams,
like
mussels,
eating it?
oysters. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I do like some shellfish. I like shrimp is good. I don't do oysters
Nope.
again, texture thing.
Oysters are
There's a
gross.
texture thing
We
with
can all
them. I
agree oysters
can't.
are gross. There's nothing good about
Yeah,
an oyster.
I can't do it. Clams I do like.
Yes.
I've
Clams are
done them.
superior to oyster, period.
There's so I was never really big into seafood, but I've gotten bigger into it over the past 10 years or so. So now like I really like scallops are my big one. Like I love scallops. I love shrimp. Um, but I've started getting into some of the different fish too. So
Hmm.
when I did live in New Jersey, we used to go fishing for flounder or fluke, I think is the other name for it.
Well, those are two
They're
different
like
things. There's flounder and fluke.
really.
Hmm.
I thought they were the same fish.
Fluke are way uglier and usually a little bigger.
I'm gonna
You can fact check me. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure fluke is just a bigger, uglier flounder.
flounder versus fluke. Summer flounder, parentheses fluke, and winter flounder.
Two different species.
Yes.
Yep.
So summer flounder faces left when its mouth points up, and a winter flounder faces right when its mouth points up.
There you have it.
Summer flounder is a lighter dappled brown, and a winter flounder is a darker blackish brown. So we used to fish for fluke. That's what we used to fish for. Those
There it is.
they're so ugly too, man. They really are with the eyes on the
They're
top of
really
their
ugly.
head. Like they are
You know what's even
super
weirder
ugly.
is they don't start that way. They start like a normal fish, and their eye literally moves to the other side of their head.
Really?
It's so weird. It is so weird.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
See, look, now I'm gonna research another thing.
There you go. Build that list.
I am. I have a list of things to research. So yeah, we used to go fishing for fluke when I lived in New Jersey, and
Nice.
my uncles were big into. I have a lot of my family's really large, so I have a lot of uncles that like to fish.
Hmm.
Probably like four or five of them. So we used to go fishing a lot, and we would fish for fluke, and then they would cook it fresh. We get it, and then they'd cook it that night. So I developed a love for flounder and fluke both. They taste kind of the same
Yeah,
in
they're
my
very
opinion.
similar.
So yeah, I got more into seafood and cod and salmon and all that awesome stuff now. So yeah, I do. I've developed a taste for seafood and definitely more into it than I used to be.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, the
Um,
floor is yours. So take it wherever
it's
you will.
funny. I've lived in Florida for 5 years. I
wouldn't
can't
know.
believe it's been that long. Sorry, I've just realized that I've been here for more than 5 years, and I'm like, I really need to move immediately.
There it
I've
is.
never stayed somewhere for this long. So
Either you leave in 5 years or you stay forever, right? So there you go.
no, no, that is not true because it's been over 5 years, and I am not staying in Florida. I am leaving soon. Um, but I haven't been fishing yet. I don't know anybody down here to go fishing with,
Right.
so it's either like I need to charter a boat for myself, which could be fun. I do a lot of things alone, so it could be fun. But I'd rather go fishing with people. But
Right.
yeah, it's
Right.
like I've been here for 5 years and I have never been fishing. I've been to the beach twice. Once when I got here, and recently because I was like, I've been here for 5 years and I've never been to the beach. So I went to the beach one day and it was nice. But yeah, I mean, we have these beaches here that are supposed to be like the number one beaches in the country, the best
Mm-hmm.
beaches ever,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, meh, no thanks. But it's hard to do things alone. It's hard to do things when you don't have anybody to like kind of hang out with and go with.
Right. Right.
We're like an hour and a half from Disney, and I go to Disney by myself, but it's weird because like you're the creepy person walking around with no kids and riding rides by yourself, and you're just like on the ride like
I think that's fine.
by myself. This is awesome. So much fun. Playing the Toy Story game. I don't get to compete against anybody except the kids next to me. And I'm like, what are you going to do? Look at the kid next to you and be like, hey, I kicked your ass, man. Take it. you know? So it's, yeah, Florida's all right for right now, but probably in the next like 6 months or so, I'm going to get out of here and figure out where to go. So we'll see. Are you, planning to leave New Jersey again, or are you going to try to settle in the same
Yeah,
area?
New Jersey's way too expensive. I don't plan on living on my own in New Jersey, so right now looking Pennsylvania, Delaware, but we'll see.
Nice.
But
Yeah, I'm thinking North Carolina is where I'm going to head next, but I'm actually going to go up there next month and check out a couple areas and see if it's a good fit. I'm very limited to where I can go because of my extracurricular activities that involve guns with a lot of
right.
rounds in magazines. So I'm very limited in where I can go. And I've done the Arizona thing. I don't know if I really feel like going back out west since I've already been out there. And I loved Arizona. Arizona is absolutely gorgeous. But I've already done it. So I'm kind of like,
Right.
nah.
Right.
I don't know if I want to go back. I was thinking about Oregon, but yeah. I don't know. I don't really have any I might go there to check it out on vacation, but I hear like crack is legal in Oregon now, so it's a possible job opportunity
Right.
in the
Right.
future.
New
Be a
markets.
crack dealer.
New
I
markets.
bet they make some good money.
Probably. It's worked for marijuana so far, so
Yeah, maybe. All right, let me look at my list and see if I have any other fun questions. I do. I have beard and mustache questions.
Oh boy.
So, first one is, how often do you get asked about the mustache?
Almost every week.
Really?
As far as the talk show goes, yeah, it's pretty much every
Is
talk
that
show.
like a staple question on the talk show? Is, tell
I
me
do
about
get
the
I do get
mustache.
daily compliments like in real life, so
Really?
that's always nice.
Nice. Are you looking forward to getting it dyed next
No,
weekend?
not at all. Not at all. I mean, if it was like almost any other color except purple, I'd probably be on board. But I'm not excited about purple at all.
Really? What is it about purple? Do you just not like
It's not my color.
purple?
This is not my color. I mean,
Does it have to be
there
purple?
is a purple shirt that I can pull off pretty well with my red vest, but I just don't think it's my color.
How long do you have to keep it in? Are there like guidelines
That
about how?
it's just gonna have to grow out. It'll just be there until either it fades and I'm have a weird like half blonde beard, or I don't know. We'll see what happens. It'll just be weird.
I'm really excited for it. And then so like my question that goes with that is if you're doing the beard and the mustache, right? Like both of them are getting done.
I am not in control of any of this. You're asking the wrong person. I'm assuming both. Yes.
So would you consider doing the hair with it too?
Well, there was a picture posted in my Discord.
I saw that, and that's what
Right.
generated this
Right.
question.
Not purple. I've long wanted to do something with my hair, but it would require straightening my hair and coloring my hair, and it would be a lot of daily keep up and then like monthly keep up with the color and everything, and just I don't got the time.
Not
Man.
up for it.
I don't got the time. I can barely keep up as it is, but I would like to do more stuff with my hair. Yes, absolutely.
I'm excited to see it.
I would just either need time or money, and I have neither.
Yeah, you know what? Hair is a very expensive accessory if you keep up with it. And I know the people that have the like the bright colors in their hair, it's a lot of maintenance.
Yeah.
A lot from what I understand. I mean, like mine's dark, you know, it's just whatever. All the same color dark, but I get my grays that I have to get dyed every couple months, and every time I go to the to get my hair done, it costs me about $200 every single time to just get my roots covered and get my hair cut. It's like literally you guys aren't doing anything, and it's hard, man. It's hard. Right. So I can imagine trying to keep up the bright colors and stay on top of that, especially if you have darker hair.
As long as they're doing a good job, you know.
Yeah, they do. They do all right, but they don't do $200 all right. I'm just saying. You know, there's like different levels of all right. You know, like when you're paying that much money, it's like I feel like there should be a little bit more involved with this. Like I feel like I should be getting like a head massage or something, like, because this is just a little bit ridiculous that all they take off, because I don't like to cut my hair. I've been trying to grow it out for so long. I cut like 10 inches off of it a few years ago because it was just dead. The ends were dead. So I cut it, and I've been trying to grow it back ever since. So I'm like, when I go, I'm like, listen, don't cut a ton of my hair off. Just trim the dead ends off. That's all I want. I just want the edges trimmed up so it keeps growing. And so I go in, and they only take like a little bit off. $200 every single time. But like, I don't want to switch because they got my color right, which has been a struggle for years to get. I want my natural color, and they can't get it. Like everywhere I go, it's like they leave me with this like red hair, and I'm like, I don't want red hair. My hair is not red. Like, I want my normal natural color. So this place finally got it. So I guess that's the price that I pay for it, right? Like if I want the natural color. Yeah. Oh man.
I went to a professional stylist when I was in Colorado. It was only $50. So.
Really?
Yep. Certified hair cutterists.
Hair cutterists, huh?
I forget the actual term, but there's an actual like term, and it's not
barbers.
It's not cosmologist. There's an actual like hair cutter term. But whatever.
Yeah, it you know, again, hair. Sometimes I have so many wigs in the closet that I'm kind of like, maybe one day I'll just shave it
off
and just rock a wig every single day. But then I remember how hot the wigs are. I don't know if you've ever worn a wig, but like some of the wigs that I have that I use for stream, they're hot and they are heavy. Like especially like I have the Ladies' Day one that has the and the unicornament one that have the pigtails in them. And man, when I finish stream after like having those wigs on for hours, I'm just like, oh my god, get it off. And it's so heavy. But yeah, wigs are a good time. Definitely a good time. So that's an option if you don't want to keep up with the hair. Just get yourself a wig.
There you go.
Then you can just wear a wig.
Boom.
And it's like you did it.
Boom. Done.
Okay.
What else you
let
got?
me look and see. I got a couple more questions. They're marbles related though, so I'm gonna move away from our constant need to move to different places.
That's fine.
And so, I know that you've been in marbles for a while. So my main question about it is what is it about the game or just the overall marbles experience that kind of keeps you coming back like every season and doing what you're doing every single season and adding more stuff onto your plate?
Mm. There is a much bigger picture over a very long timeline that is very sparsely filled in. And until I get to a point where I can fill those spots in more detailed and put more resources into them, I feel like I just need to grow an audience. And Marbles seems to be a good place right now for me to grow an audience. So that's always my main goal, is growing an audience. People who are interested in my creations and interested in my perspectives. And if that can garner enough support as far as resources go, then that will make those other areas easier to fill in over time. And so it's a long play, long slow play.
Got the long game going.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of like brings me into another question that I have on here is what would you like to see Pixel by Pixel Studios do with this game in the future? Like, do you have ideas for how they can kind of improve the overall game and bring in like a larger audience and stuff? Like, what do
Right.
you kind of see happening,
Um,
or what would you like to see happen with the game in the
Logistically,
future?
they need the Unreal 5 pickup, and they need a optimization overhaul of the graphics to make it less taxing on everyone.
Mm.
That's going to make it more accessible. Once it's more accessible, they need to have a bit more of a burst of creativity. So, like the arcade mode needs to be a lot more just experimental and unpolished. I think Pixel struggles with that a bit of releasing not polished things. Um, and I think the success of arcade mode is just like, all right, here's like a weird procedure generated golf course, go for it. Or like, here's like a weird new kind of battle royale, put it in the arcade, right? Here's, instead of the one tilt board, it's two tilt boards side by side. The marbles fall on either side, and you have to get both marbles to the end on each side. Like, just make an arcade, like, just come up with an idea, put it in arcade mode for a season or two, and then take it down if you don't like it, or fix it and put up a better one the next season. Just like take stabs, see what all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Come up with a kind of like a side scroller dungeon crawl thing with marbles, maybe, where you have different obstacles that the marbles have to punch through, and then see how far you can get. Who knows? Like, just start coming up with stuff and throwing it out there, and be more experimental with it, right? And if the game is more optimized, the physics is more reliable, and more people can stream it and play it because of those optimizations, then you know, I think that all kind of works together. And with Yusuf, that's what I'm saying is arcade mode is for the unpolished, right? I'm not talking like develop a whole new game mode. I'm talking just get experimental with arcade mode. Just throw stuff in there. That's like no one's playing boosted anyway, so it's not like anyone has a high expectation of the arcade mode. You just throw it out there and see what happens, right?
Wonder if they created a new category for it, rather than like arcade mode, like beta mode or something, just to throw all the ideas out and
Right.
kind of see
And
what
I think
sticks.
arcade mode's just sitting there. You might as well use it for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing that counts for points in the season. It doesn't use energy. It doesn't affect ranking or streaming in any way. It's just something people can check out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. I think that would be that would add some value to it. Um, so then speaking in parts of the game too, so you track build. We all know
I
that. You teach
does
it. You
guilty.
train people how to do it. So what kind of drew you to that section of the game?
Um, so for the first 6 months I was doing marbles, I was only doing the pixel maps, and think at when I first started, you could only do pixel maps, but then community maps came out, and I never really got into it initially. Um, so I think it was getting so familiar with the marbles physics and the maps and understanding how each marble could take a different path through each track because I was so familiar with those tracks that when I first got into the map builder, I was able to really break that down. So, like, when you have a divide, the marbles don't just have an even probability of being on the left or right hand side of the track. They're going to start forming these perfect fluid waves as they go through. And that's something you can manipulate because if a marble is going to be more likely in one place than another, then you can start branching marbles off a couple at a time and start creating a bit more intricate pathing through the map and stuff like that. And then just dealing with physics engines alone, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. So maybe you want to see something that Pixel hasn't made yet, and there's no piece, quote unquote, for it, but the right combination of 10 pieces does make that thing. And now you've created something no one's ever seen before. So that's kind of the core as far as like a mantra is pushing the game to its limits, essentially, as to what is actually physically possible.
Seems like it kind of goes up your alley of not wanting to see the same things over and over again. You said that's
Yes.
kind of what drew you to Tilted too, was the constant changing and
Yes.
different
Pushing to the
options.
limit. Absolutely.
And then you kind of mentioned this one too, about the track builder and being able to create new pieces with other pieces. So where would you like to see the track builder go in the future? Like, is there any pieces that you want added to it or different features you want added to it? Do you like the idea of being able to like world build? I know Pixel's talked about that in the past where you
Hmm.
build the entire world. Do you like that idea? Or you kind of like stick with the world how it is and just add new pieces?
I honestly think the artistic route is not a good route to go because it makes things all end up being the same. Like it just becomes one big popularity contest, essentially. You know, who can make the best looking Pikachu, who can make the best looking Mario, you know. Um, and that being said, specific pieces, while they can be interesting if they're intricate enough, aren't very useful in a map, right? Um, what I describe it as is the emergent property. If you look at Minecraft, there's no one block that's super interesting, but the combination of blocks can make the most elaborate constructions. And marbles benefits the same way. It's not one piece that makes marbles interesting, like a Brenda or a stair. It's how you can put pieces together in unconventional ways to create entirely new effects. So the more specific a piece is, the less useful it is, and that's why I think it's more important to prioritize general pieces to allow bigger constructions to come out of. Which is why I like stuff like the small shape piece, right? That's something people have been asking for, and is being used all over the place. Because sometimes you just need like a little thing to plug up a hole, or you just need a small flat surface for the marble to bounce off of. And you don't want a booster pad, you don't want to hide a booster, you don't want to have a ramming pin, you just need something there, right? So I think that's the right way to go. It's
What,
embracing the emergent
like,
property.
related to the obstacles, like where he added lasers in this
Mm-hmm.
past season? Do you have any like ideas in your head about other obstacles that could be used to move the marbles in a different way that you'd be interested in seeing? Like, we have these gravity pads and the little bongo pads and all this stuff that kind of moves marbles in a different way. Do you have any other ideas in the future for obstacles that they can add that would make because I know a lot of your tracks kind of focus on the movement of the marbles, which is
Mm-hmm.
something I really struggle with. That's why, like, you see a lot of, I think my tracks are right up the alley of things that you don't like, which is like I build other things and then kind of make the track work with the other things that I build. And I know I've heard you say in the past that you enjoy more the aspect of the marble movement in general and
Right.
using track pieces to make the marbles move in interesting ways, which is something that I struggle with. So I'm curious if there's anything that you have in your mind of different ways to move the marbles that you would like to see added.
The one thing I wanted a couple seasons back was like a one directional piece, essentially. So like if you had a box, it'd be cool because like I was doing big jumps, and it's hard to catch a marble in a big jump. Um, so like if you had a catching bin, there's a chance it would just come through with so much speed that it just bounced right back out. So I was thinking like if you had a wall that a marble would pass one direction through but not the other, that would be good. But now we have portals, which essentially can do that, right? So you could make a box, you put portals on one side, you have exit portal on the other side, and the marbles would hit it and they would go through into the box, but they wouldn't be able to get back out of the box. So I kind of got what I wanted already as far as functionality goes. Um, I think the tiny hammers are a very good addition. So I think that's another good thing that was good. Like I wanted hammers to be slow enough that they didn't kill things, but they're gravitically based rather than inertial based. So they can only get so slow before they stop being able to pull themselves upwards. Um, so the tiny hammers being rotationally based are kind of what I was looking for in that regard. So that's good. As far as the remaining unyet found functionality, we just got the bouncing surfaces in, which is nice. The dampening surface I haven't played with enough yet. I want to see if that's kind of what I want or not, if it's usable for what I would use it for. And then something not yet done. I would like to see something more like corkscrewy, um, especially like the big Archimedes screw. It's only one direction, so having a mirror option on that would be nice. And having an obstacle that was a corkscrew with no casing on it, I think would also be interesting.
Yeah, I like your idea of the invisible wall where they pass through and they can't get back out. I know we have portals. Don't tell anybody I said this, but I really don't like portals. I think
They're
they're cheater portals
they need a
that
little
make
work.
it
They need a little work.
it's, I like the idea of them, but it's now created this thing where people can just stuff them in and they no longer have to figure out how to make a track work.
Right.
It's like they can just end the track and like, oh, here's a portal and good luck trying to find the balls.
Right.
Like it's
Well, the good thing about that is where a track could just be connected all in one line rather than using portals, and people use portals instead. Those are bad tracks. People don't like them. So I think that's something the community's just going to iron out on its own.
good.
And
Yeah.
basic builder advice to anyone watching: if you can just connect two pieces of a track together without a portal, don't use a portal. You need to use a portal for what you actually would use a portal for.
Yeah, I mean, there are some good tracks out there with portals. I'm not gonna lie and say that there aren't, because there are. But for the most part, and I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I made a track for Spoo and Miss Dope Sauce to use during their tournament, their event that they did with the Marvel musical, which
Mm-hmm.
was Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors. And now I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I kind of half-assed it. I told Spoo that too. I'm like, listen, I was in a bad place when I made it. I just wanted to be done with it, so I half-assed it. I put portals in it. Like I threw portals, and
Mm-hmm.
where the
Mm-hmm.
marbles flew into, there were three different spaces they could fly into, and I put portals in it because it was easier than trying to make the track work.
Right.
Um, but it's like I said, I call them cheater holes
Right.
because like you no longer need to figure out how to make. That was part of the fun for me, was trying to figure out how to make tracks work within different things and
Right.
trying to get the balls to just keep going on the track. And now there's portals, and now you don't need to do that anymore. It's just like, oh haha, and now you're in the bucket and you don't even get to see, like, everybody just falls through the bucket at the same time because they've gone into the same portal.
Right. Right.
So I would like to see people get a little bit more creative with it and not just use it as a, well, I don't feel like making the rest of this track, so I'm just gonna throw a portal here, and then everybody's just gonna end up in the finish bucket because
Right.
I don't feel
And
like,
I think that's something that'll get ironed out because I don't think a lot of people do enjoy that. So
yeah,
that'll work its
yeah.
way out.
It's a shame too, because there's a lot of really awesome tracks out there that you look at it and you're like, oh, this track is awesome, this looks so cool, and then you have a portal into a finish bucket, and you're like, man,
Oops.
right? It's so
Oops.
disappointing. So I hope I do hope that they iron that out. And exactly, Woot, crap, I ran out of pieces, delete two pieces, and slap down some portals fix.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Makes sense.
But like I said, there are some people that are doing some really cool things with portals too. So I don't like
Right.
want them to go away. I want people to be more creative with them, I guess.
They'll
But
get there. They'll get there.
people, I mean,
My two portal tracks this season, I think I did a pretty good job with.
I have to check yours out. I have not been streaming much this season. I had to start actually like going back into the office, and it was, I was off for 7 weeks recovering from the surgery, and I got really used to doing nothing except stream stuff during that. And it's really hard to be off for that long and then have to like, hey, you have a job you have to do.
Right.
And like now I have to go to work and I'm like, oh, I got so much stuff to do for the stream. I haven't streamed in 6 days. I'm like, man, this is hard. Balancing work and streaming is so difficult.
Yep.
So
It's a
yeah, I
struggle
haven't.
we all have. Or most of
Like
us
you're
have,
talking
anyway.
about some of these obstacles too. I haven't even used them yet because I've barely been in the map builder at all. So like I
Yep.
saw those little hammers. I call them the Fall Guy hammers because that's what they remind me of. And I saw them on a track, and I'm like, well, where did those come from?
Yeah.
And then I saw something else, and I was like, well, where's that spiky turny thing from? When did that come out of here?
Right.
Like the again, the Fall Guy yeet bar.
Yep.
It's that thing I saw in there too, and I was like, man, there's all these new obstacles. Like I really need to get back in the builder and do some stuff because there's a whole bunch of stuff I haven't discovered in there yet. So
Makes
have
sense.
you started working on next season's? I don't know how you do your 1 hour tracks. Do you start working on them the season before or
all
as
up
soon
here.
as the season starts?
It's all up here. I don't start building it until season launch because who knows what changes have been made to the builder. So
So you don't want to go back and fix things?
right. It's all up in
Really?
the brain.
You don't want to be inefficient? How
Nope.
dare you?
Nope.
So do you have an idea for next season's
Oh yeah.
1
There's
hour
gonna be a lot
track?
of portals.
Damn it! Just kidding.
No, but there will be a lot of portals, and there'll be a lot of new obstacles, and there's going to be very little track on next season.
Really?
Very little track.
That'll be really interesting.
I
I
hope
know
so.
Spoo has a challenge he's supposed to do where he does your 1 hour track along with the, 6 other challenges that we've completed that he hasn't
Yeah,
done yet.
no,
So
he, GGC, and I should be doing that 2 weeks. Last
nice.
Friday of the season. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Awesome. Looking forward to it. It's a 1 hour portal purgatory. Fantastic. I am super excited for the 1 hour portal purgatory.
could be. You never know.
I'm sure it'll be awesome. I know
never
you
know.
have a real talent with making those marbles move in certain ways where some of the tracks that you do I've seen, and I'm just looking at these balls moving through it like, how did he do that?
It's job security.
Mm-hmm.
It's job security.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I like about it, because people sometimes get a little bit out of shape when their ideas get stolen. And usually they're not the first one to come up with it. And the other thing is, like, if it's that easy to steal, it's not really a good idea. And so that's the thing with, like, a lot of my tracks is, like, I could tell you exactly how to make my tracks. You still wouldn't be able to make my tracks unless you're willing to put in 8 hours of trigonometric work. Then, fine. Go for it. If you want to put in the hours, go ahead, put in the hours. But that's
you can tell by the way that your tracks are built that you put a lot of time into it. And I'm going to be honest, I am just way too lazy to figure out how a lot of the stuff works. And that's, it's something I need to work on in my own personality, but I can admit that that's one of the reasons that I kind of go for more visual stuff, because I like to see how the pieces kind of fit together to make something else.
Right.
And I don't have the same interest. I like it's there, but it's not strong enough, if that makes sense, to figure out the marble movement. And I think that's why I haven't put a lot of thought into it. And I get frustrated with it. Like when I try to get the marbles to jump over a long stance, and like how most of the time you need to get them to go in a single file line, like they get bottlenecked
Yeah.
and it drives me crazy. So a lot of the times I'm just like, forget it. Like I can't deal with this because I tested on so many different levels, and once it starts getting to that 3, 5, 7, and 1,000 marbles in it, it's just so bottleneck that like they all end up dying from
Mm-hmm.
the blue. And I'm just like, I don't know. I get rid of it. I'm just putting a straight track through. We're not jumping anything. Nobody's jumping anywhere. You're going straight through.
Yeah.
So it's tough. So I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of respect for you figuring out how to make these marbles move how they do, because it is not an easy thing to do. And it's just not an easy feat. I mean, that's
Fair enough.
the basis to it, that it takes understanding of physics, and I think understanding of how the balls just move in the game in general. So,
Yep.
a lot of respect for that.
Speaking of
Um,
which,
yeah,
I got
because
beef,
I'm out of
woman.
questions.
I
So
got
let's go.
beef, woman. I got beef.
You got beef?
I got beef.
No.
Let's talk. Let's talk builder competition.
Oh no.
You were a judge for a builder competition.
I was a judge.
I have a lot of back and forth with Bax and Deathslug on this. Just trying to make it a better event each time and give good feedback and stuff like that. And I've often criticized the lack of specificity for judging criteria, which it's hard to have the conversation because while I usually end up disagreeing with the methodology, I also usually end up agreeing with the end result. And it's kind of one of those things like, well, if we both agree on the result, does it really matter how we got there? Kind of a thing.
Yes.
Right?
It does.
So I kind of want to dive into the mind of a marbles building competition judge. Just for the, like, how were you navigating those categories?
So the problem with it is, for me, was trying to not take other things into account. And I think I did a little bit, because after a couple maps, I'm like, well, you know what? It should be taken into account, because if people are doing the same thing that they do everywhere else, they're not being innovative. Like, the point is to be like, take this idea and make something new with it. And you have people that are just kind of sliding into the idea a little bit, but overall doing the same thing they always do.
Right.
And that's where, like, I took points off people that did that.
Right.
Because, like, you do this in every single map that you do. Like, this, you have the same thing that you do. Every map of yours that I open looks exactly the same, with different materials and different placement of these same things that you do. So I took points off for that. If it's the same thing that I see you do all the time, I took points off for it, because I don't think that's the whole purpose of it. So, like, when because I was in the first builder tournament that they put together, and I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit pissed off that some people didn't follow the theme that they put out.
Yeah.
So they gave you a theme and people didn't follow it. They did whatever they wanted, and they're like, oh, and they came up with this convoluted reasoning behind how it supports the theme. And it's like, no, that's not the theme at all. And this is BS that you got away with that. So it's hard. I mean, it's hard to regulate it too, because I don't know how people's minds work. So some people might do a convoluted thing that I'm like, oh, well, that's really smart. But at the same time, like, is that really, you don't know people's intentions. So it's like, did you go into this with an idea of what you were going to build and then try to make the theme work in your favor? So, and I don't know, I had a hard time judging it because there were some people that I really like, and I gave them bad scores because it was just, some of them were not, the time wasn't put into them that should have been put in. Like, they focused too much on making it pretty than making it functional. So, like, there was one track in particular, like, the person who built it, I absolutely adored, and I gave them a really bad score. And I told them, I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, but you had balls that were stuck and everything. There were things, they were like the sliced in half by the track pieces that they just got stuck. Half your balls got killed by the blue wall. Like, we were sitting there for a minute waiting for the blue wall of death to come to kill off the rest of the balls. Like, I can't rate tracks that do that well, because it drives me crazy. Like, I don't like sitting there for a minute like, All right, guys. Any minute now, we should. Yep. Any minute that blue wall of death should be coming. And yeah, how are you guys doing today? Everybody good? Like, I don't like that. That's so judging that competition. If that's what we were doing, where we were waiting a minute for the balls to die off, like I had to give you, a bad score. I'm
Right,
sorry,
right.
but it's bad. So it's it's hard. It's hard to be unbiased and
Right.
really look at the track for what it is and take into account. I mean, you only have the three categories too, right? Like you have the
Yeah, yeah.
creativity, you have the theme, right? I think it was creativity, theme, and replayability.
Difficulty
And
was
it's
the
like the
second one.
replayability bothers me because I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna replay tracks that I like, right? But this could be a really good track. Like this could be a really good track, but maybe I don't like a track that takes 6 minutes to finish. So
Right.
like replayability is a tough category for me because I mean all of them are very subjective, but it's a tough category for me because it's there can be a track that's really really good. Would I play it again? No, because it's a 6 to 7 minute track. And not saying that I like super quick tracks that like everything needs to be over in a minute, because that's not what I look for. But if it's not engaging, like you have a 6 minute long track that is not holding my attention,
Right.
it can be a beautiful track, it's very well built, but after 3 minutes I'm looking for other things to do because I have I have a short attention span. This is not engaging me. It's not, there's not balls going places that is making me entertained. Now I'm bored. So that's for me, where there might be somebody else that does just want to look at the pretty colors for 6 minutes straight, but for me I get bored after a while. Like
Right.
it's
Right.
so it's all personal preference, and that's the problem with the judges, is that it's all going to be based on personal preference and what they like. So it's, and I had the conversation with Des too, that it's tough because you need to find people that are willing to set aside their feelings for other people. And like, there might be somebody who you can't stand that's competing, but hey, they just put together an amazing track,
Right.
and you
Right.
need to kind of put it away. Like you might not like this person, but you can't deny that this track was by far the best one that was out there.
Right.
And I think
Right.
it's hard for people to do that. So it's it's just the people that you pick to judge need to be able to do that, and I think a lot of people struggle with it. So it's hard. It's a hard thing. It's hard to pick the judges, and then people are unhappy, and it's like, oh well, they only won because everybody likes them, and it's like, no, they won because they put a really nice track together.
Maybe everyone likes
And
them because they're good at building tracks.
right. It's just like, and I got attacked during that. When I was judging that, I got attacked by Death's entire chat because I voted somebody low for some, and I don't remember what it was, but I was a little bit offended. I was like, listen, I am the judge, and this is my opinion. If you guys don't like it, you can kiss my ass. This is my decision. But they're like, well, not every track needs to be a 3 minute track. And it's like, okay, but this one was a 6 minute track and I'm bored. So I'm sorry. Like, leave me alone. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
his
think
entire chat went at me. And I was like, dude, I'm going to leave, okay? Take my ball and go home. Screw you guys.
yes, I think I agreed with most of your judging. The one that I actually took a little bit of issue with is you rated mine and Jerumba's difficulty as the same, and that one hurt a little bit. That hurt a little bit because there was nothing difficult about Jerumba's build. It looked amazing, but
Yes,
there was
I
nothing
remember that. And I
difficult
think,
about that build.
wasn't Jarumba's one of the first ones
It
too?
was it was the first like
So
eye catcher. Yeah.
this is the other problem, is like I would like how I want it to work is I would like to see all the tracks first
Right. Right.
and then go back and see them again
Right.
and then
Right.
rate them. Because when you have the first one, it's like, oh my god, this is incredible, this must have been. And it also goes by what I can do, because I can't figure out how to effing rotate track pieces for the life
Okay.
of me.
Right.
So
Right.
for like to see somebody who rotates them perfectly, I'm like, oh my god, how'd you do that?
Gotcha.
Because I
Gotcha.
can't figure it out for the life of me.
Makes sense.
But
Makes sense.
I think, and this is and I think my voting got a little, or my rating got a little bit more honest as we went along and I saw the other stuff. So like you really, and that was my issue when I was the builder. Mine was the last one that we did. So by that time, like I felt like I had the harshest judging out of everybody because I was the last one that we did. And GJC and I had the same exact idea, which you would think for creativity, because we had the same idea, we'd get the same rating. But no, no, one of the judges gave GJC a 3.5 and me a 1.7.
Oof.
It was the same effing idea.
Oof.
So like, I was a little bit bitter after that one. And I told Des, like, I'm like, I am not entering your next one because I'm mad. So he's like, well, how about judging it? And I was like, oh man, I don't want to judge. But yeah, I think but it would take so long too, but maybe it would be good in the future for them to like run through them just visually, not actually like run the track, just visually run through them.
So my thought was have Des and Bax build a track like the day before. And then like that like sets a good window. Like Bax, who knows very little about map building, and Deslok, who knows practically everything about map building. And then you just run both to just kind of like set a tone. And then you can run the 10 tracks submitted, right? I feel like that would be a better way to go about it. It's like just have some sacrificial tracks up front to kind of get everyone, into that right mindset.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that could help. But then you run into the same thing where it's like, okay, well now the actual competition doesn't start until that first track, and then you haven't seen any of the other ones that have been built. So it's good to have, I guess, kind of a baseline. And I think the only way to do that during the competition is to get a visual of everything that's been built. So yeah. I don't know if maybe you have the judges that have to hop around, and I know they do that too, where they're hopping around the whole time. But I think it should be more, should be a little bit stricter, where when people are running their final tests of it, I think the judges should go in and watch the final tests so they can have an idea of what everybody's built.
Right.
And then that way it's kind of, they can be thinking about what they're going to score each of them, rather than just having while they're running and not seeing any of the other ones, because it would have been different. Like if I had seen, when I was judging, if I had seen them all and had an idea of what the rest of them looked like and how they ran, my ratings may have been different based on the other stuff that people had come up with,
And maybe just a part of that is longevity, is like having people who have judged before judge again, or people who have competed a couple of times judge, right? Because it's only happened twice, so there's no like archival knowledge of how to judge the maps just quite yet. So it could just be part of the growing of it.
Or what if you, rather than giving them each an individual like rating on each section or each little category,
just rank them 1 to 10,
and
then score it out.
Yep.
That'd be interesting.
Yep. I think that might actually be a little bit better down the road.
Right.
Or like you can still do the categories, but then they're ranked by the categories.
Right.
Like, your replayability 1 through 10, meaning like, each one only gets one number, and then go that way. And that way you have to rank them all, and then you get the overall score off those.
Right.
So
and you could still
that might be an option too.
You could still do the fan judge, like the chat judging after each one, but then you just reveal the judge scores at the end.
Right.
Not a bad thought.
But again, you wouldn't be able to really rank them until you've seen them all either.
Right.
So it goes back to needing to...
you would kind of jot it down as you went, and then say this one was better than that one, and then the next map, like, okay, it was better than that one, but not as good as that one, so I'll put it in between those two, and you can kind of like piece it together as you go.
And then make your final decision once you've seen them all.
Yeah, Yusuf, I haven't received any details about that yet. So, just saying.
We're just brainstorming, Yusuf. We're trying to innovate and come up with different...
I believe Yusuf's holding a competition for the end of the season.
Yes, I did. I saw that posted somewhere in the
Yeah.
internet's universe.
So yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great idea though. I like the concept of
Oh
the
yeah.
building
As far as an
competition. I just
entertainment, they cracked the code on the first go. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I just think
Oh
the
yeah.
judging is going to need a little more work to make it more repeatable.
Yes, I agree. And I told Des that too. I didn't like being able to I had to do the whole numbers too. I
Right.
think this time.
Right.
And I got really mad about that. And I think I had told Des that too. I said, do not do that again. And he's like, oh, but and I think we had talked about it a little bit. I'm like, it sucks. It makes me mad because it's like the difference between a 2 and 3 is pretty big. The difference between a 3 and a 4 is pretty big too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to rate this a 3, but it's not a 4 either. I want to rate it a 3.5.
Right. Right.
And I wasn't allowed to. So I think I got slapped by the community for some of that too, because it's like I can't rate this a 4. It's not a 4, so I have to go with a 3. I have no choice.
Right. Right.
I'm not allowed to do in between numbers. And then also, and I'm not talking badly, so don't go back and like repeat things and saying that I'm talking badly about people, but the people I judged it with were overly nice about their judging. So I looked like a jerk.
I would say less experienced builders.
Honest.
I would say they're less experienced builders.
I was trying to be honest, and I looked like a jerk because the other two were like fives all around, and I'm like, no, just no, guys, come on. So it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun, but it was yeah, it was hard.
Well, believe it or not, we've crushed 2 hours just like that.
Nice.
Boom, boom, done. We got it.
Awesome, dude.
GG's.
We did it.
We did it.
We talked for 2 hours.
So good. Well, thank you,
I
everyone.
I don't feel like I was that awkward either. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, Shens.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the YouTube portion of Losing Our Marbles at Talk for Two. We will continue after the show with Q&A with chat. So if you want to catch that ever for any of these episodes, you got to be here live. Twitch.tv/ShensTV every Saturday. Join the Discord. We keep you informed week to week. Profanity, thanks again. Awesome stuff. Do you have something you'd like to bring up as we approach the end of season 19?
I'm doing Marble Fest.
Marble Fest? What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Our last guest is doing Marble Fest too. It's almost like a theme.
Yeah. Look at that. Yeah, I'm the last slot before SPU. So
Nice.
4 p.m. on the 29th, I think is the day. I'm still trying to come up with a general theme for my own stuff and whatnot, but it should be fun. It should be fun. But yeah, that's all that I have to talk about related to my stuff.
Awesome.
But yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Shens.
Of course.
It was a good time. Bring the southern accent.
Maybe in the Q&A. Maybe in the Q&A. Thank everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode.